A gracious good morning or good afternoon, whenever you're watching this. This is Professor Tommy Halstead or Coach T. I've got a very quick recap today of the Platinum Universe of February 2025 on their first decision, Platinum Universe red, blue, and yellow teams. Without further ado, let's jump into screen sharing. Welcome, chat. Welcome, my previous validators who are jumping into the chat, helping me out here. This is our us45.com site. I advise and encourage our Platinum team to jump over here, take a look at the Platinum decision. You'll land on this page and then jump over to Platinum Decision 1. We set a record. You set a record with some fantastic results here. Just to give you an example, now blue team came out with most number ones, red team number 2, yellow team number 3, but very, very close, all three on your scores because everybody got a little piece of the action here and did very well, amazingly well for a first decision. Now, all the validators have talked to me, texted me, and we've gotten together. I thank you for all of your suggestions and your ideas. I hope it was a good mutual back and forth we had. My last talk with the red team, I mentioned that they might have a little trouble with eco, with their investment there, because eco and low cost are always two areas that destroy. This is a previous universe from a long time ago, and you can see that this, even towards the end of their sim, they were dying in image and being killed in family in low cost, doing a little bit better, two of them in eco, but in general, eco and low cost are just killers, which we warned you about at the beginning of the sim. But with a first decision, you have no feedback from customers. You really don't understand what your competitors are doing. So with that, our universe did absolutely fantastic. These are our standings. It came in blue, then red, then yellow, but they're so close that really it's amazing. Everyone really did a great job of concentrating their portfolio on, to start with, on family and image, which are our growth mature products, our our dogs or stars or whatever, not, or cows or whatever you call our cash generators. And you can see by our own EBIT here that all three teams just did absolutely fantastic in image and did really good in family. Eco always kills everyone. Blue did very well by not over-investing in eco as we had suggested. I had told Red to be careful as we were going forward. And by the way, whenever we have talks, I post it on Halo so everybody can see what we're talking about. There's no, one not knowing information that anyone else had, but a lot of the validators were texting and texting and texting at the end of the decision because this is the first decision. Look how well we did in the family. Everyone did fantastic. And this usually where we get absolutely destroyed I mean, these could be all way, way down for a first decision. Red was actually in the black, was doing well, and the other two hardly took a bath there. So blue, of course, did fantastic. They didn't suffer much in eco or low. They kept those sliders moderate, but also met their supply with their demand with the inventory they had, and just knocked it really well in image and then in family. So you can see the details here. All of these slides are available on biz45.com. I suggest you come look at all of them. I've got almost 40 visuals here we've generated for you to see all the details. You can look at the car lines, how the revenue went for all three, highlighting everyone had positive return on capital, ROCE, return on capital employed. It's a European, a French term. They like RONE, return on net assets employed, as well as ROCE, but it's basically your return on your investment, capital employed, and everybody's in the positive, which just does not ever happen on a first decision. This is a turnaround situation, and there are even some matching between lost orders and inventory already, which has never been seen in years and years. I go back 37 years doing this simulation stuff, and I've really never seen a first decision done this well. It's just incredibly. You guys did fantastic. So moving forward, I'm going to quickly run through these just to give a flavor of what they are, and then they're here for you to analyze for your papers, your ongoing all the way to the end of the course, your analysis, and of course your next few decisions on what you may want to change, what you may want to course correct. Highlighted some things that you might want to look at. But generally, you can see here that this is low cost where everybody gets killed. Blue took a chance and did well in terms of pricing above. Everyone else sort of stayed where the price was. But there's some really excellent results, as you can see. No one ever gets retained earnings. It is a turnaround, much positive, but they do less negative. And you can see the revenue was excellent, and EBIT, of course, was fantastic compared to other teams that have just done miserably trying to have been killed with low cost and with eco. Again, this is our recap for family, and it shows, again, flat prices. No one took any chances there, but the engineering appeal for Blue was just awesome. They really matched, and we'll look at the white line in a little while in a minute of how well we matched our customer needs to our own engineering. And there's two types of demand. There's demand that's generated by the needs of the customers at the time, which is lagging. It's retrospective demand. It's what they think they need. And then there's derived demand, which you engineer. You never had a car before that had lane maintain and adaptive cruise, and you did it, and the customers love it. So your engineering can drive demand also with new features. So it works kind of both ways, just like the real world. And you'll see highlights of features here by the percents of how Blue did so well. The other teams did fantastic too, but you can actually see who was leading in and why in eco, where a lot of people often get slaughtered just because the line is slow growing. And of course, images are cash winner. Everyone did fantastic. It was interesting to see the prices to grab a little more profit here, and Blue just engineered it perfectly. You'll see the white line, how close they came. There was no white line for the first decision, so it was just our knowledge of watching the videos, the cheat sheets, etc., of what the customer might want, and everybody did fantastic in connecting to what the customers will want. This is our lost orders or over inventory, and this is in low cost, which is absolutely astonishing. There has never been a team like Blue that has hit supply and demand nail on the head first time out with first decision. Usually this is a learning curve and takes a long time to figure out how this works. This is a perfect example of the differences of approach, where Red has a build up of lots order in inventory. The ratio is reversed in the graph, of course. So this is inventory. And Red built some inventory, not a lot, not horribly. And Yellow actually built lost orders. So if you look at all the other numbers on EBIT, EBIT drives everything. You'll see that Yellow did great in marketing and engineering, but they did not make enough. So they had a whole bunch of lost orders between here and zero, where they had a lot of demand, good revenue, but they couldn't deliver. So their orders over their sales had a big gap in it. And so they had all these lost orders by marketing a lot, spending a lot of good money on marketing. On the other hand, Red, did great on production, got the inventory up, but didn't quite market right. Blue just, knocked the ball out of the park. They are almost flat with zero between supply and demand and low cost, which is never seen on a first decision like this. It's just amazing. So now we switch over to family, and we can see it's more traditional, although Red did a great job in family of staying between. They have some inventory buildup, but not a lot. Yellow got killed here in family they did good, they did okay, but they got killed in terms of their built up of their inventory. They got great orders, great revenues, but you have to keep up with the demand by making enough also. Whereas Blue did just the opposite. They marketed like crazy, but they had lost orders because they couldn't make it. Whereas here you could make it, but you didn't have, So either way, you're caught between those two. That's why it's zeroed out at zero here, where we're trying to stay flat, where our inventory is right for our demand, and our orders are matching our sales. They're very close, and what we've gotten in orders, we can deliver in sales. So that's kind of the goal. Again, here, this is eco again, and which we saw red doing such a fantastic, or blue doing such a fantastic job. This is where red's doing an awesome job of meeting supply and demand, and red and blue both did great on that. When we get to image, everybody did really good, but we do have some in blue and red were fairly close to being zero here. Blue did great again, of course, matching supply and demand. They're, as a team, they're just really has it together on how do we handle CapEx? How do we engineer so we'll have not only demand but also supply, and how much marketing do we need so we get sales, our orders as well as sales with the plant capacity. So Yell had a big inventory buildup here and had a problem, but they still did great because everyone did great in terms of pricing, image, and having a good return financially on their image. Now, this is kind of what in image what drives your sales and your orders and your volume, and you can see the relationship of price. Yellow was flat, blue and green tried to raise, and then you can just see kind of what is the sales volume and the price versus the engineering and what was driving the revenue and the sales. And then we also have what drives the costs in terms of each of the lines, what drives sales and which drives costs. This is eco again. So you can study these on your own and figure out what you need to do, adjust each car line now that you know what your competitors are doing and what your customers want. So each one of these will give you another little bit of indication on where we're going. Um, Again, this is how effective is the engineering and family by team, and we're trying to get the most effective balance between CapEx and demand so that we meet our supply meets our demand. Low cost, same thing. It'll give you a good idea in terms of plant capacity. Everybody left it pretty much flat, which worked fine because you didn't have too much buildup from the previous period. Next period is a different story. You got to really look at and forecast what's going to happen in each of these lines compared to where your competitors and your customers, what they want, which we'll see in a second on the white line of the market. Again, this is what is driving our costs in eco, and it shows the unit cost, which is important to look in each line at our unit costs. Where are we the low cost producer? And how does that tie back to our effective engineering in eco and in every one of these lines? So let's see, what am I going to call there? Yeah, well, um, we will turn that off. It's notifying me that we have a meeting going on. I know that. Our chat is going crazy too. Yeah, our chat advice on this is that to be careful of gas prices on image, which we have mentioned before. Got to keep an eye on that. If you're doing real well, but then the gas prices start to go up, you got to be careful with your with consumption. Again, this is Rose and how it's working by Caroline, who is breaking into positive territory and how well they're doing. Red did fantastic. All teams did fantastic. What you want to look for here on the changes are we up or down from the last period? So this is what you were handed. It's a turnaround. How are the teams doing? Are they doing worse or better? All three teams did much, much better than the handoff, the previous manager of this company, which is what our goal is. Now we can see this in family, which is a tough line. Blue is the only team that did better than the previous period because family is tough. You have to really be careful with the marketing, dealerships, and the parameters that really drive your sales with the family line. And you can really compare the white lines, which we'll look at in terms of the sliders: performance, comfort, robustness, size, technology, consumption, your number of models, and your novelty. And those go across the white line, and they'll tell you how well did we match that in each period. And we did better. Blue did better, and the other teams did a little worse than what they were handed off in family. So that's another measure of how are you doing compared to what they gave you. And of course, we did fantastic in eco because eco was crushing the company before, and so all three companies again jumped up, did positive, and of course, same thing in image. This image, right? Yeah, in image because blue blew the doors off, obviously, but both other teams did well too. So the trends here are great. We're turning this company around. The Rosé is positive, which never happens on a first decision. And so we'll conclude this with taking a look at the sliders. You can see how the lost order of inventories drove eco, especially blue, popping into positive a little with EBIT because of matching supply and demand. Same thing in low cost. Everybody did really good matching supply and demand, and so nobody was killed in low cost like we usually are. And the two great cash providers, Family and Image, everybody did a really good job of matching supply and demand. But what happens here, this, for instance, is red team in low cost, red team low cost. So red team low cost, well, you can look at each other and figure out what are your sliders, where they were, but it's that remember this graph is about characteristics. So each one of these are performance, comfort, robustness, etc. So this is red up and down. This is red with amplitude, not frequency. So if there's a mismatch with what the customers want, which is the market line, and this changes because what you engineer is derived demand on what they also might want. So white follows blue a little, but blue also has to follow white, and you're trying to become a not too much of a trendsetter way ahead, or you're sucking air or way behind the trend, or you're eating exhaust. You got to be right at the trend line as much as possible. So when you look at up and down, you can see that in low cost, the blue line is kind of where did we go compared where the customers wanted to be at that point. And if it's a little higher here, this is the gap you've got to look at in terms of the trend. Are we trending closer to what customers want? Are they trending up towards what we do? And when you have this S curve that's like this, it means we're a little too high on our engineering, 1, 2, 3, and 4, which would be comfort and robustness in something like low cost, where they don't care about that much. And if we're way low, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be technology. We're saying, well, we're not going to put much tech into low cost. And they're like, yeah, we do like tech a little moderately. And this is one little tiny slider, a 5 rather than a 4. It's not some big old thing. Same thing here as you look towards the end at consumption, number of models. How is it, did we think it's important, and how is the market telling us it's important? So in every one of these cases, you can look at this. We're not going to go over that in detail, but this is red then in family, and you can see there's a significant investment in engineering and many, many different things, except for the model numbers. So we got a lot of questions on red on model numbers. What's good, what's right? And my answers have been stay moderate. Don't go too high or too low on the sliders for the first decision because you don't have the white market line. Now that you do, you can gauge what you're doing with these parameters. But remember, it's going to change for two reasons. One, your engineering, your competitor engineers are going to want this white are going to move this white line towards what you designed, but also you need to meet them halfway at least if you're over engineering or under engineering or over marketing, under marketing in terms of what their actual needs and the new derived demand is. So matching that white market line is a great way, or coming close to it, to do well. And again, you're not going along this axis because these are just different types of engineering. You're going up and down and saying, how close am I, in terms of amplitude of what I'm engineering is spending money on and what they want. And if you're getting orders and yet you're not increasing the orders with your marketing or with your engineering, but then you're building CapEx because of it, you're going to have double expenditure on things they don't want. And then if you can't make it on top of that, you're going to build inventory of things that they don't want. And if you're not building enough inventory and it is something they want, if you're down here, you're going to have that gap between having too many orders and not enough sales. So this is a balancing act and all the turning wheels of building a flywheel and how they match. So what do we have here? We still got red, only this is image, much better, much closer warp and woof in terms of there. We had a little bit of image of number of models again. You got to be careful with the number of models because you can do too little or too great easily, and of course they drive a lot of capex. So then I'm not going to go through every one of these. We're just about done here. I want to keep these videos brief and just encourage you to come to the site and look at these numbers. You also have your market share numbers and the value change and value proposition and all that. What's your share of market in each line? You have many more graphs in the sim itself. Sim is closed right now because I'm redoing the date, but it will be reopened again so you can actually look at it. This is Sunday or Saturday night that I'm doing this because it takes most of the day Saturday to get these all done once you validate Friday night or Saturday. In this case, one team did Saturday morning. So when that's all done, but then by Sunday morning, when most of you are probably watching this, um, we'll have gotten the sim back open. You can look at this site, biz485.com. Also, you'll have seen this video, and then you can take a look at the results on the sim itself, where you get more data team by team. Especially, you get more information on the financials I don't show here with the capital budget because that would be giving away too much to tell you what everybody's budgets are in each area. So again, matching that white line is important. You all did a fantastic job of doing it close to it by actually, you can see here there's that where yellow got into a lot of trouble. So they didn't do anything. They just left everything the same in some places. That's why yellow didn't do quite as good. You have to at least try on your sliders to hit some of these things for these. You can still do well by leaving it flat and not doing too much, but not doing anything won't get you matching the white market line. So that's just another tip for yellow. There's several places where that happened, but basically, um, that's it. Let me stop sharing. And I recommend everybody go to biz485.com. Thank you so much for all your texts and your calls and your messages and your phone calls. And let's just keep up the communication. Do your studies. Watch the video on before decision two, because now you have a lot of data. You can see what the competitors are doing. You can see what the customers like and want. And given how well you did, I wouldn't change a lot. I mean, change it by small amounts, make small course adjustments, but where you're seeing, geez, I should have done that, I should have done that, and you say, okay, let's do it, but not twice as much. Let's do it a little bit because we're still doing very well on it. And especially many teams do great on revenue, but end up just being destroyed. Um, there were some financials I didn't show you on the last slide of the last, you can see it on Biz 485 in your recap. You'll see the number 19,000 in all three teams. That means they all ran out of cash and got government loans in the previous sim, the previous universe, a couple ago actually. So none of you have that danger. You did great on cash. You kept your cash flow. You even jumped into positive ROCE territory on the first decision, which is very, very unusual. So keep up the good work. That's my message to you. And we'll see you in Halo and in the class. And good job, everybody. Great job.